House Calls.
It's time now for House Calls with the Kingery team of Mountain to Lake Realty.
Keep it here for market insights, featured guests, and answers to your real estate questions.
Here are your hosts, Steve Furrow and Julie Kingery.
Hey! We're back. Miss Julie, it is Saturday morning and it's time for House Calls, baby. House Calls.
Whew.
I know you're excited.
Didn't sound too bad this time. Maybe I'm getting used to it.
Let me get it warmed up here. It's still early. We'll get something going here before long. You doing all right this morning?
I am. How about you?
I'm doing well. While I'm at this here, a little introduction, I might as well give a shout out to Sloan's Automotive, old Bobby out there. We appreciate you. He was making fun of me here last week. He said, I heard you on the radio. He said, Julie cut your eyes at you. I said, well, could you hear that through the radio? He said, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would never do such a thing.
Well, we appreciate you guys out there listening to us. And as always, here, the Kingery team with House Calls. We're coming in, bringing you the latest and greatest in the real estate market, giving you all the tips, the latest trends, and today will be no different. So, Miss Julie, second full week of January, give or take a day. Mm-hmm. What do you think's going on in real estate market? What would you share with all of those folks out there today?
Well, it seems like we have mentioned before, those people who are serious are still out there. I have actually gotten a house under contract this week.
Woo!
That
Ding, ding, ding!
went on right before Christmas. Yes. So it went on right before Christmas. We thought it might be a slow showing time. And actually, they had a few showings and an offer after the third one. So things are looking good for 2026.
We had several, more than a couple homes that go on the market there between Christmas and New Year's. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they're all under contract.
I believe you're right.
Sellers, if you're interested in selling your home, you might give the Kingery team a call. We might have a little insight on helping you get that sold. We'll jump in a little bit here. You talked about kind of the pace of the market, pull some stats, and so we'll kind of jump into some of that here today. And before we get into the specifics of December, I guess I'm going to give you this little bit of just a teaser ahead of time so you can get prepared. But I'm going to ask you, did we sell more homes in 2025 or less homes compared to 2024? So we'll give you a moment.
I was going to say, you want me to answer it now or later?
Give you a moment. So I know you need to think about it. So we're thinking about homes that sold in December of 25. Last month, when you look at Franklin County, we're at 44 homes in December that sold. And you look at what went on in Martinsville, Henry, and Patrick County, we sold 59 homes in the month of December. And, if you were to compare that to where we were a year ago, would have been up slightly in both markets, both Franklin County and Henry, Patrick, Martinsville area. And so that and that trend, I think, when you look at previously, if you were to look at December of 2024, whatever market you're looking at and you're comparing it to December of 2025, I think it's fair to say that more homes sold in 2025 versus 2024. Now, if we were to go back and compare that to December of 2020, kind of the height of COVID, sales weren't as shiny. There was not as many homes sold in December of 2025 versus December of 2020. So with that little segue, Miss Julie, what you going to tell us about, in your opinion, more homes or less homes sold in 2025 versus the prior year?
I would say 2025 was probably a better year than 2024. Just looking each month, you've given these stats, and I think they've been a little bit better in 2025 versus 2024. I know not all months were higher in 25, but I think overall it seems like it was a better year, 2025 than 2024.
You're spot on. That's why we call you the resident expert around here. So we'll see how good you are. Can you tell me how many, percentage-wise, how much better were we in 2025 versus 2024?
Without my calculator, I'm not very good at that.
Oh.
Let me just throw out, I don't know, 10 to 15%.
Oh, wow. No, not quite that good.
5 to 8%.
Let's go with a little over 3%.
That's it? Okay.
A little over 3%. Still still an
good.
increase. And, we're talking about,
Maybe prices increased a little bit more than we don't have that stat probably, but
yeah, I didn't pull that information, but just overall homes sold, we're talking over 6,000 homes
okay.
when you combine, I'm taking greater Roanoke Valley area, as well as, Henry, Patrick, and Martinsville City.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big area there when I make that statement about a little over 6,000 homes, but an increase. So would we have sold more homes in 2025 versus 2020?
I think 2020 was probably a better year than 2025. We're getting close to those stats maybe, but not quite there yet.
I gave it away earlier with sharing the stats of what had gone on. I gave it away. So I think next time we'll have to put you on the spot, Julie, without me giving you time to kind of get your mind right, if you will.
Shows you I pay attention when you talk, right?
Yeah. That's laughable. But anyway, and that being said, if you were to compare 2025 to 2020, we're almost 20% less homes sold in 2025 versus 2020. But guys, you got to remember, height of COVID, the real estate market took off. COVID March, April of 2020. Next thing you know, the real estate market got really kind of hot, and it stayed hot for a couple of years. And so, again, we've set off inventory. Julie, this kind of segues into inventory. I think inventory has, continually grown, and I think I've got some information on that as well. It has been peaking up, if you will. When you look at overall inventory in January here this past week, we're talking about 1,300 homes. And if you were to compare that to where we were, we're actually down about 130 or 40 homes compared to where we were just a couple of months ago.
Okay.
It's not a huge difference.
No.
But it is still a difference.
Just to play into that, you had Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. Some of those holidays may have affected that some. So inventory will probably pick back up here in January, February, March.
Yeah, and I mean, I think COVID was COVID and the years that followed that, there was that really made everything, as far as the overall, what we saw in a historical trend in the market, that sort of kind of went out the window. Mm-hmm. But I think we're far enough away now that we're seeing some of those historical trends. And if you were to look at inventory in the months of November, December, January, they typically go down,
right.
Just because holidays and all those things. But those are all, from a seller perspective, less homes on the market. You've got less homes to compete with. I mean, there's all things to talk about there that give you an opportunity to say, hey, it's not a bad time to put your home on the market.
Right.
So, Miss Julie, let that wrap things up for this session of House Calls. And we'll be back with the question of the week.
House Calls.
Buying, selling, moving fast.
The Kingery team delivers results with heart.
We're the local family team that knows this market inside and out and treats every client like one of our own.
Quick closings, strong offers, no nonsense. Whether you're upsizing, downsizing, or just ready for a change, let's make it happen.
The Kingery team, selling real estate 1 yard at a time. Located uptown Rocky Mount at 195 South Main Street. Give us a call at 540-483-5566. Hey, we are back with House Calls. Julie, it's segment number 2.
Thanks for giving me time to go get that third cup of coffee.
Well, I've given you a few minutes here to, we've been talking about some stats and what's going on with the market. Now it is question of the week.
Right.
And this comes from the 540, Mr. Peters here. He says, my son just turned 18. He's thinking about buying a home. Good for you, son. Mm-hmm. Good for you is what I would say. He is working as an electrician and has been living at home with me. What would you suggest he do? All right, Julie, that's a pretty wide open question.
First off, great job on being an electrician. Something we all need.
Yeah, we need to get his number.
We need more. We might need to give him a call for some work here around different properties we have listed or have clients buying. But I would say, thinking about buying at 18, we always go back to credit. Make sure you have some credit, because I know unless you've been saving a whole lot of money, which I doubt that's happened quite yet, but I would maybe talk to a lender as well, just to see how to build some credit.
Young man needs to be saving. He's living at home. Let's save some money. Let's get things together for a down payment. So what does your down payment look like? That would be, for me, kind of the first question. Obviously, you mentioned lender. I mean, that is, we're going to have to, unless Mr. Peters is going to help his son out with a little, with a little cash.
Which is always nice.
And if you want an adopted son, I'll be glad to come over and pull duty if we need to. Just trying to understand what that situation looks like, I think, is the first thing. And then, then it comes down to sort of narrowing down, where does he want to be? Does he want to be close to mom and dad? Then maybe we sit back and just wait for that opportunity to come along. Doesn't sound like he's in a spot where he has to do something.
Right.
The other thing, before we get into some of this other stuff, Julia, you mentioned lender. Assuming at 18, he's a first-time home buyer. And so let's talk with those lenders and determine what programs, what things might be out there for a first-time home buyer.
Right.
Because there are certainly programs and there's grants and there's just a lot of different things out there that exist for that first-time home buyer to help them achieve that home purchase. And that's something that we need to make sure we're taking advantage of. I mean, squeezing that lemon just as much as we can to try to make sure we get every opportunity there.
When you mentioned grants, and I think that's something that we don't always know about. I mean, I think that's a hidden gem, is that there are grants available for first-time home buyers that you just have to look for them or know the right lender.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's, the discussion about, finding a great lender, having a conversation and letting them share with you what they think is gonna be the right fit for you, I think really, really does help in that scenario. Because I mean, there's some folks out there that just first-time home buyers is really not what their focus is.
Right.
That's not a good place to be if you're a first-time home buyer talking with a lender that's not really what they do. And honestly, if they're any good, they're going to tell you that.
And hopefully put you in touch with somebody that would be a better fit. But as far as going back to that down payment, saving up as much as you can, this is something that might be, I don't know whether it's something that Mr. Peters would be interested in, but to give that 18-year-old some responsibility. Maybe, if you're comfortable with him living with you for a little bit longer, you might set a rent fee or something just to give him that practice of, I'm going to pay this each month, and see how comfortable you are paying a certain amount of money. That helps you to know what your budget might be once you find a house.
Yeah, no, that's a great conversation there. And then, the other thing I think, as far as additional things that he could do is sit down with us, sit down with the Kingery team and let us walk you through the whole process. There's a fair amount of paperwork, the purchase agreement, there's disclosures and all kinds of things that need to have a discussion. And so we sit down and we can walk you through that process. At that point, I think we become much more, have a much better understanding of what to expect and what's going on. And then you can take it from there. First things first, making sure that lender, down payment, understanding the whole process, I think is important.
And down payment also goes with closing costs. I think that's a whole nother discussion that we could have. We always talk about down payment, but closing costs are some of that down payment. So just keep that in mind too. Just even if you're doing a USDA 100% loan, there's still going to be closing costs that might come into play. And whether you can ask a seller to pay part of that or whether you have that saved up so that you're not paying interest on it. It's just all something that we can sit down and go through with you, with the lender. We can all three be in a conversation about how things are going to go through the process.
Well, great stuff there, Miss Julie. Is there any last words of wisdom you want to give Mr. Peters and his son?
Save, save, save.
For January, that is great advice, not only for Mr. Peters, but for everyone out there listening. So with that nugget, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to call it a day and sign off here on this House Calls. If you've got questions, you want to be included on the question of the week, we'd love to hear from you. 276-629-9999. Just text us that information, your question, and we'll be glad to try to address it as quickly as we can. KingeryTeam.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in buying or selling real estate, Julie and I would be glad to help you in whatever respective way that you need.
We'll be back next week.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks for listening to House Calls with the Kingery team of Mountain to Lake Realty with your hosts, Steve Furrow and Julie Kingery. If you have questions about anything discussed on today's show, text us at 276-629-9999. Join us again next Saturday at 9 for more tips, trends, and answers to your real estate questions on House Calls with the Kingery team of Mountain to Lake Realty and Southern Virginia's country station, B99.9.
House